Alright guys, so no surprise there, Bitcoin has managed to make another move down exactly as predicted on this YouTube channel. You guys will remember in the previous videos, and just yesterday I was warning you about Bitcoin potentially finding resistance in this range and then dropping back down. I was showing you how the fear and greed index was trending higher for now 3 days in a row, people feeling more and more relief in this market. And of course, if you look at the sentiment, when I was telling you guys that I was expecting this market to start dropping, a lot of people were really disagreeing with me right there. So that's showing you the masses generally on the wrong side of the movements again. So shout out to those of you who've been subscribed to this YouTube channel, hitting up the likes. You'll know all about that. And in this video, I want to talk to you about where I think Bitcoin will go next, because I think that we could be looking at Bitcoin potentially dropping even lower, but I want to make the case for Bitcoin trading sideways, maybe even recovering back up. So there's quite a few things that I want to cover with you all in this YouTube video. But before I move on to that, I have to stress this very, very clearly, guys. We saw this on this YouTube channel from miles away. We saw this coming when Bitcoin was trading up in this region. And the reason that I was so sure about this, and the reason I was able to tell you this with such confidence for so many days in a row, was because this was a strong area of support for Bitcoin over this recent market phase right now. So I was expecting this strong support to turn into potentially strong resistance right here, which is the same thing I was warning you guys about when Bitcoin was making its drops, is that, yes, overall in this long-term chart we're still in a really good place, but we do, oh wow, look at that, we're really starting to pump up right now. This is a huge pump right here on the 1 minute time frame. This just happened, but what we do definitely have is a strong area of support, which can potentially flip into resistance. So very, very important to keep these classical technical theories in mind, right? You're going to be learning this in just like page 1 of any technical analysis book, but it's obviously a little bit harder to integrate this into your daily life with analysis, you know, because you can start losing focus and losing your perspective and stuff like that. So that's why I'm here to help ground everybody and ground myself, of course, so we can retain a healthy perspective. So let's take a look at what's happening now. This big pump right here does not change my analysis, fortunately. You know, the key things that I want to talk to you about, the key potential scenarios I said could happen if Bitcoin tops out over here, is that we end up trading in a sideways range that looks a little bit like this. We're already potentially confirming this theory right now. Or a new one that just popped into my head before I started recording this video is that Bitcoin potentially forms an even bigger ascending channel. Now, you're going to remember in just the last video, I was showing you that Bitcoin was in an ascending channel that looked something a little bit like this. And I was basically saying that this is generally a very bearish pattern, which Bitcoin has broken out of many times to the downside, which just forms that classic staircase pattern that I always talk about, right? Where we're trending downwards and then we slowly trend upwards and then we break down and we continue trending downwards and then we slowly trend upwards. And usually this point is where we would have found support in the past. We'll then find resistance there again and we'll keep trending down. This is just the textbook ABC, you know, standard you know, chart pattern that we can expect in the market. And I've shown you how Bitcoin has already formed these ascending channels before and broken down. Very, very typical price action for Bitcoin. And my whole idea here is that we're now potentially forming an even wider one. Now, to me, this makes a lot of sense in this market. I think that because this dump that we saw was quite large, I mean, it happened fairly quickly, right? If we measure it from the high to the low that we set, it took us only about 8 days to drop by 20%. So it's definitely a fairly sizable correction to the downside. It then makes sense to me that if we're going to continue dropping down, that we actually start fighting the trend a little bit moving forward. So here's the deal, is that this area right here with this green box that I've drawn for you at about the $60,000 level is definitely resistance, which I think is important for Bitcoin, but I don't think it's super strong resistance, right? If we look at this on the 1 hour time frame, we've already used up all of the resistance. This is what I was warning you guys about yesterday, where if Bitcoin is somehow able to trade up to this area tomorrow, which is now today, I then think that Bitcoin is going to have a really good opportunity to rise back up. And the reason I was saying this is that because Bitcoin penetrated this resistance area for so long, you guys are going to remember this. I said this a few days ago. So you're really starting to see how this, remember when I was saying there's some extremely advanced analysis I want to give you, and I was talking about how the more we attack resistance levels, the weaker they become, and by extension, the more likely we are to establish support. That's exactly what happened here. One of the possible situations I outlined is that Bitcoin trades into this resistance and stays in the resistance and then potentially drops down. Well, if we attack this resistance and we were able to stay in it for a long time, even if we drop down, I told you that I would be more open to Bitcoin then rising back up again, purely because the resistance didn't act as resistance straight away. In fact, Bitcoin traded in this area, fell down to the bottom of the cloud, traded in it again, and we actually stayed in this cloud more or less for how long? For 2 days straight. That is a long time to be trading in such short-term resistance, which is why I was telling you that I would potentially feel like Bitcoin is a little bit stronger, and that's why I think that we could have a chance at potentially hitting this resistance area again. Now, the other thing I want you guys to keep in mind is that this resistance area, yes, like I said, I think it is an important resistance area at $60,000, but I don't think it's the most difficult area ever for Bitcoin to overcome. You know, what I want you guys to keep in mind is that we have only just started hitting the big areas of support on the large time frames, right? The weekly time frame, for example, is super bullish right now, in my opinion. But let me just show you the daily time frame before I even get there. Let's take a look at this. Look at this. With this wick right here, and by the way, not all exchanges printed this wick, so this isn't representative of the whole market. But with this wick right here, we finally fallen down into the one-day Ichimoku cloud, and if we measure it from low to high, Bitcoin already pumped by about 11, maybe even 12%, depending on how you draw this, from the Ichimoku cloud. So you guys are going to remember in one of my recent videos, I was talking about how powerful the Ichimoku cloud is. Guys, it's really important that if you find this content useful and you enjoy it and appreciate the grounded analysis where I'm not scared of telling you what I'm thinking and I'll just tell everything to you straight up, because that's what you need when you're in these markets. If you find that useful, you've got to make sure you're subscribed to the channel, and the reason for that is I don't cover the same thing in every video. I'll talk about very important topics and very important theories only in one video, and then I'll move on to the next one in the next video, but I'm going to be stringing all of these theories together. So if you miss a video, you're potentially harming yourself. Definitely make sure you subscribe so you don't have to do that. But I think that this is absolutely great. And when we look at this from a longer term perspective, right? I mean, yes, this was definitely a strong area of support, but considering that we've hit very strong support now, I think that Bitcoin could have an argument for breaking that resistance up ahead. It's still going to be very difficult, so I don't have my hopes up. I'm still definitely more bearish than I am bullish at the moment, but we do have a good window of opportunity, right? This is somewhere where I'm not going to be, actively trying to put money behind my bearish ideas at the moment. Because if you look at this, all the resistance on the 1 hour Ichimoku cloud has now been cleared up. If we look at the 4 hour time frame, we don't have resistance on the 4 hour Ichimoku cloud for another 2 days, right? Literally a whole 48 hours nearly that Bitcoin has as a window of opportunity to break up. We have potentially another 48 hours to break up in this trend. Let's say Bitcoin corrects down a little bit and attacks it again. We still have a good window of opportunity. Where it doesn't look so good is if we look at momentum, we're still getting resistance from this momentum ribbon. If we measure this from the highest point we drew in the momentum ribbon down to the low, Bitcoin already dropped by 5.7%, which is quite a large amount in my opinion. And so seeing the 4 hour EMA ribbon providing some resistance for Bitcoin is not something I like to see. And it's the same picture on the daily time frame. We're right now in this daily EMA ribbon, which is again resistance for Bitcoin. The reason it's resistance is because we fell below it and now we're attacking it again. So if you haven't already seen my EMA ribbon tutorial, then type this into the YouTube search bar now, pause the video, go watch that tutorial. It's free, but it's part of my paid content. So if you like my stuff and you want my paid stuff, this is a good way to get some free access into it to see exactly what it's about. Please take advantage of it, because I don't make this paid stuff free often, so I really want you guys to enjoy it as much as you can while you can. And you'll know very well about how, we did end up breaking this support. We're now potentially hitting it again as resistance, which is slightly concerning. And that's really the whole picture that I got to make you guys aware about, right? It's exactly as predicted where Bitcoin started to drop down again, from that resistance level. This is nothing that surprised us. This is exactly what I was predicting on the YouTube channel for days. But because we were able to, trade in that resistance level for so long, we were able to also break down a lot of the resistance in this range. So, we've now hit it once, twice, and we're potentially going for round 3 right now as I make this YouTube video. I don't know how many times we can hit this level until it breaks, because one of the key things to keep in mind for those of you who are potentially a little bit newer in these markets is that, yes, there are resistance levels, but the more we hit resistance levels, the more likely we are to break them. And one great way that you can visualize this is if you've got, let's say, a beautiful marble statue and you keep on hitting it with a pickaxe, you're eventually going to make some cracks on that statue, and the more you hit it afterwards, the more likely you are to break it. It's basically, it's like hitting something with a hammer, and it's breaking apart, and then the more you keep hitting it, the more likely it is to eventually just crumble and completely break apart. That's how resistance and support levels tend to work in these markets as well. Very, very important concept, right? When we keep getting too comfortable at a floor, we become more likely to break it. Now, it doesn't mean we're definitely going to. What I need you guys to really understand with this realistic channel is that analysis is not about making certain predictions. Analysis is just about weighing probabilities. That's all that we're trying to do here. We're not trying to call certain things will definitely happen. We're not trying to be fortune tellers or have crystal balls. We're just looking to play probabilities and understand them. That's it. And as long as you do this well, the thing I need you guys to understand, right, is and this is what trading is all about. Let me just blow up my camera real quick. If you want to learn more about trading, it's the first link in the description. You can join Foresight VIP, learn all about trading from A to Z from me, everything I know about trading and analysis, and then watch me trading and analyzing in this market in real time as well. I'll tell you everything I'm doing and all that. But one of the key things I really want you guys to understand right here is that with trading, what we're trying to do is play probabilities that are weighted in our favor. We're trying to throw a weighted dice in our favor. And what that means is that on an individual basis, on a short-term basis, every single trade that we make is 100% based on luck, right? If we're playing a 60% odd, well, 6 times out of 10 we should win, but it's based on luck. Maybe we get very unlucky and it completely fails. But that's on an individual short-term basis. When we blow this up into a much larger time frame of 1 year, 2 years, 5 years, and so on, and with crypto the time frames are much shorter, so we can say a few weeks, a few months, then you would start to see that if you're still playing good probabilities, you have a 100% chance of having a good outcome. If you're playing a 60% chance every single time, 60% chance of winning, and you play it 1,000 times, you are virtually guaranteed to be successful. You'd have to have a ridiculous level of bad luck to still not make it work, and you just don't have that level of bad luck. You would have already been paralyzed and dead already if you had that level of bad luck in your life. And that's my point with trading and analysis, which a lot of people don't get. A lot of people, they enter this game and they see it as lottery tickets. They see it as something where you can instantly accelerate your path to financial freedom just by buying shit coins like Shiba, and then they get confused for why it doesn't work out for them, and then you listen to someone like me who tells you why, and you start hating because you can't accept that your investments will go down. And that's, that's a very typical cycle for a lot of people to go through. I went through it myself, which is why I speak about it with so much accuracy. But I love you all for supporting this channel in my quest to not censor myself and tell you guys exactly what needs to be said. So here we are with this resistance level again. That's why I think that Bitcoin potentially might have a chance at breaking up higher. It's just that the probability gets a little bit stronger. The key problem is that if Bitcoin does break up into this range, we're still going to be facing resistance, right? And that's going to continue to form my new rising wedge theory, which would look something a little bit like this. Let's say that over these next few days, Bitcoin finds the strength to break up into this range at 62K. We're still going to have resistance here. And that's the problem that Bitcoin is facing, in my opinion, is that there is resistance everywhere in this box that I'm drawing right now. This whole area is resistance, but generally the bottom of the box and the top of the box are the strongest areas of resistance. And the reason for that is because this is where the reversals are happening, right? There's a lot of consolidation in this range, so that alone just makes it a difficult range to penetrate because a lot of people remember it. There's a lot of price history there. It's a psychologically charged level. But the reversal zones, they're very important because when the prices hit them, they tend to make big moves, right? Look at this. They tend to make big moves when the price, this we faked out, but we really have quite explosive runs off these levels, which is why the reversal zones are so important. So, that means that our next big area of resistance would probably be around the $63,000 to $64,000 level. And again, if we look at the daily time frame, that's exactly where we're starting to see the resistance on the EMA ribbon. It's actually a little bit lower than that, but we're seeing it in very much the same range as well. So that's my main thing that I gotta make you guys aware of, right? Bitcoin, in terms of showing strength in this range, is doing well. We're not getting the volume I would have liked to see. We are forming a typical bearish pattern. Even now, after this pump that initiated during this video, we're still showing bearish signs in this market. But what we still what we have going for us is that in the face of all of these bearish signs, we're holding resistance levels. We're not immediately getting smacked right back down. we're trading in them for 2 days straight. Over here, we're getting rejected and we're putting big pumps up, to help us rally back up. Now, will this pump last? I don't know, because again, if we look at this on the 1 minute time frame, this is very typical manipulation happening in the market right here. Really what's happening here is that a lot of people will have entered their short positions on the rally back down because Bitcoin had gotten rejected from resistance, and now those short positions are being stopped out and potentially liquidated. So this is very obvious market manipulation at play right now. So I don't know if this move is going to stick, but it doesn't really matter whether this move sticks or not. The fact is we still have resistance here and we still have support here. So let me talk about the bullish case now. So here's the deal, right? Because Bitcoin has been showing a good amount of strength here recently, I think that Bitcoin has a good case to find some support at the bottom of this range right now. This is where Bitcoin found support at most recently at about $55,500, and so I think that there is a good argument to be made that Bitcoin can potentially find a little bit of support right here. This was an important level in the market on the rally up. We were finding some resistance here, and so to find some support here and then again over here, to me it would make a lot of sense to potentially enter a sideways range, and that would make it a much larger correction, because that now means that on the larger time frames, Bitcoin is potentially entering a sideways trading range, which would be pretty bearish. And the reason I think this would be bearish for Bitcoin is that we would then essentially be forming a sideways consolidation pattern within an existing bearish trend. So let me rephrase that, right? If we're trading sideways, let's just understand very quickly what sideways trading means. If the market is trading sideways, it means that the bears are too weak to push the market down, but the bulls are too weak to push the market up. So we just enter a sideways trading range where nothing is really happening, and this is where the bots tend to make the most money, and this is where humans should really avoid the market, because the bots are making the most money, and you can't compete as a human, you can't compete with a bot. You're just too stupid. I'm sorry, there's no exceptions. Maybe a few exceptions. You'd have to be very autistic. So the average person is just, it's gonna have a very hard time trading in these ranges. And you need to learn this stuff to know it. If you don't know this stuff, you're going to enter these markets, you're going to fuck up, you're going to lose money. You're not only going to lose your money, you're going to lose your time and your opportunities. And this is one of the key reasons that people who join the Four Flies Academy, who join Four Flies VIP, do so well in preventing losses and making profits in the future, right? We're essentially helping you shortcut your way through the bullshit, because I had to go through it myself without learning this shit first time, because I was a young idiot. I'm helping you shortcut it so you can jump ahead from those things, because obviously, you can learn everything that I'm teaching you, and you will if you stay dedicated, but at what cost? You might have to lose a lot of money at first. I lost all of my bankroll multiple times learning these lessons, and you'll also lose time. The market right now is really hot, definitely very profitable if you're trading it well, and to be blowing these opportunities and making unnecessary big losses just because you haven't learned your lessons yet is a big handicap, right? So being able to shortcut your way there is absolutely huge, and we have this available to you all right now with these links on screen, so please take advantage of it if that sounds like it would be interesting to you. It's the first link in the description down below, and then the @4flies button, and then send message to ask me how to join Four Flies VIP. But like I said, a sideways trading range right here will indicate neutrality, because the bears are too weak to push the market down, the bulls are too weak to push the market up, so we're in a neutral zone. This is a short-term neutral zone because it's happening in a short space of time, and if we put this in the context of the wider trend, we are then forming a neutral sign in a bearish market. That's what we're doing right here, right? We entered a bearish market at the all-time high. We're in a bear trend right now, and if we form a neutral sign right here, this is going to be something neutral in a pre-existing bearish trend. So another way to consider this, with my classic bad analogies on this YouTube channel, those of you who are new, one of the long-standing jokes on this channel is I make bad analogies to help you understand what's going on. And a classic good one right here would be, that we've got a situation in this market where everybody is looking at the market with, red tinted glasses. So, with blood, with fury, with anger, with sadness, and then we do something that's a little bit neutral, right? And everything basically is going to be skewed to the bearish side, because the market is already slightly weak. So that's what I want you guys to be keeping in mind right now in this market state, is that, even if we did end up trading sideways, this wouldn't be a good thing. Also, if Bitcoin ends up, topping out right here and then trading down here and then topping out over here and then trading down here, for example, to find its lows, and we kind of zigzag a bit like this, we're going to start forming a potential symmetrical triangle, which again would be the same thing. This is the same thing where the bears are too weak to push the lows, and the bulls are too weak to push the highs. So we again consolidate. This is even worse. This is even more bearish in my opinion, because it's going to close off faster. There's a time limit. With a sideways trading range, it can go on infinitely, but with a triangle that looks like this, it has to break before, in this case, the 2nd of September. So, to me, this would be even more concerning. And I mean, look, I'm just grasping at thin air now. I don't want to make too many bold statements about this because, it's just too early. It's a useless exercise to talk about this. But I'm just putting these potential patterns on your radar, because one of the key things I did on this YouTube channel recently is I showed you something that was very, very premature. And I just put it on your radar. And one of the key things I said is that, look, this might not happen, but we have the early pieces. We have the puzzle pieces for exactly this to happen right now. So keep it in mind. And it happened, right? And what happened was I was showing you this pattern right here where Bitcoin traded very quickly up into a rising wedge, and then it broke down, and then it rallied back up to test it as resistance. I didn't draw it correctly now, I've just realized. We rallied back up to test it as resistance, and that's potentially what we could be in right now, and then we crashed right back down. So let me just draw this correctly so you actually know what I'm talking about. The support level looked a little bit more like this. 1 second, bam, there we go. This is what the support looked like, and the resistance was the same. Resistance looked a little bit like this right here, and so the market ended up dropping down below, coming back up for a back test, a bearish back test, and dropped by about half, which is a very, very catastrophic drop in the market. And we could, I mean, this is the thing, as I was warning you that we could be doing something like that again, and so far we are following everything that I said could happen in that video. We're following it to a T right now. So I think that if Bitcoin did rally back up, again, this is the problem that I outlined to you guys that Bitcoin is going to have, right? Is that because Bitcoin actually found really good support in this range, we have to expect that it can find pretty strong resistance, right? And broadly speaking, I mean, look, we're in a really bullish trend. I don't think this should be a problem. I've shown you guys how on the large time frames, Bitcoin is only finding support now. So again, I'm really not too worried about this, but it's something which should be, should not be taken lightly, especially because Bitcoin has already formed this pattern. Bitcoin has been forming patterns like this, which are bearish. I mean, this is not the only time where Bitcoin rapidly managed to rise up and then lost momentum and then crashed back down, because that's essentially what this displays, right? It's showing that we have really strong momentum here, and it's showing that we have less momentum here, and then we crash. This is not the only time Bitcoin has done that in this market. The other time Bitcoin did that was right here. Bitcoin really very quickly rising up in this situation, and then it enters a very similar pattern where essentially the momentum gets a little bit weaker. And I'll just show this to you by, again, one of the ways I like to visualize momentum is taking a line and just showing you how the gradient of attack becomes weaker in the market, right? So what I'm talking about here is that if the market is rising up with this kind of angle, that's telling us that it's not very strong. If it's rising up with this kind of angle, that's telling us that it is very strong. We're moving up very fast, very high, very quickly. If we're moving up like this, it's not very high. And we can just eyeball this and you'll start to appreciate exactly what I mean, right? Up until this point, Bitcoin largely rallying in quite an aggressive straight line. From this point onwards, we can say that Bitcoin kind of, stopped trending as aggressively as before. And so this shift in momentum tells us a little bit about what might be coming next. This is the kind of thing which, again, you can learn on your own, but it's a lot easier if you've been trained to see it through a video course like the Four Flies Academy course, which, by the way, almost every VIP member is getting for free, depending on which plan they're taking. So you can definitely take a look at that. And then obviously, it indicated a pretty nasty drop for Bitcoin. It dropped by about 24% right here. So if this caught you off guard, you would have been screwed. And I think that it's definitely something which, I mean, it's not like this was difficult to see coming. I think you could Yeah, this is a good way to potentially demonstrate how momentum shifted in the market, right? At first it was pretty strong. It stayed pretty strong on the next leg, but this final leg, it stopped moving up as quickly as before. And I mean, this is not something that's unique to this bit of price action, right? What I was showing you earlier is the same thing. Originally, we have a very strong gradient of attack in this market, and then we lose that strength. You can see right here the difference in these two lines in terms of the angle that they're attacking the market. This line is much more aggressive than the first line. We're basically moving up much faster with this rally than we are with this rally. That's my point, right? When you start spotting these things, you have a big advantage in the market. And I'm not showing you anything that's rocket science. This is just a way of visualizing how excited people are. That's it. This is a way of visualizing how excited people are. When you have a line which is much steeper, that's showing you people are really, really excited in the market. When you have a line which is less steep, that's showing you that people have lost interest in the market. And when you have a market which is rapidly rising really, really quickly, you need interest to stay high, or at least to stay consistent, right? We don't necessarily need interest to stay high, but we need it to stay consistent. And when we get a rapid shift like this, like what we're in right now, it's potentially trouble. I want to show you guys how this might be wrong, though. You know, one of the key things I'll always do for you guys as a teacher is show you why I might be wrong. And here's a great example, right? Bitcoin has done this many times where it looks like we've lost momentum, but actually it stayed very bullish. Let me show you this time frame on the rally up to 20K. This is an example where I knew that we were probably doing the exact opposite of what I'm saying now. So I went long on Bitcoin and I made a shitload of money. Let me show you this right here. So this is on the rally up to $20,000. If we take a look at this, you can start to see exactly what I was describing here. Bitcoin originally getting a nice run up, it gets a lot more aggressive, and then we lose that aggression. And it's precisely around over here that I knew this is one of the exceptions to what I've just taught you guys. So I entered a long position at $14,000 right here, and I closed it all probably around over here. Now, obviously, in the grand scheme of things, that wasn't a very nice exit point, but on part of my position that ran up to this level, because I was taking profits on the way up, on the part of my position that stayed in this trade up to this level, it became, up to that point, probably my biggest profit ever of my life, or in the top 3, because I was trading it on leverage and I made like 300 to 400% profit on that trade. So this is an example of how just understanding these rules and knowing when you can break them can actually make you a lot of money. So this is just a classic example where, you know, if you use what I've just taught you in a vacuum without applying any common sense or without understanding wider principles in the market, which, by the way, all of this is taught to you inside of this package I'm showing you guys, you know, you would be able to position yourself for this stuff, because we can see how momentum was lost in this market. The gradient of attack becomes much less steep, but then that aggression picks up again, and then it's lost again. You can see right here how we lose that aggression, but we build that aggression back up again afterwards. And this is another scenario where, because I knew this, I was able to trade this move, and then on the next leg up over here, I made a further, you know, 300 to 400% profit, because I was expecting that Bitcoin, you know, having lost a bit of its aggression in this sideways market, is probably going to pick it back up right here. So that's exactly what I traded. I traded the same thing again, because I knew about these rules and I knew about how to break them. So there you go, some more really, really in-depth looks at these markets. Now, the other thing that I want to show you guys is what Lux Algo is saying. Now, this is an algorithm, which means that it's going to be a lot more emotionally removed, in fact completely emotionally removed from the market, because it's not a human, and to me that can mean that this is very, very reliable. Now, I don't like to use these indicators as massive parts of my analysis, but I do use them to supplement my own analysis, because I know that I'm a human and I know that I have flaws, and to pay what is actually realistically a very low fee to have access to data which is always going to be unbiased is very, very valuable. So take a look at this. Lux Algo showing us that we had a sell signal in this market on this big crash right here. Now, you wouldn't be in a huge profit if you sold your Bitcoin around here. It's only dropped by a few percentage points. But what's important is that it hasn't given us the X right here to indicate that it's time to take profit on that sell position. So the algorithm right now thinks that we might have some more space to drop. If we look at this on a shorter time frame, let's see what the hourly is showing us. Does Lux Algo think that we're bullish or bearish on the hour chart, on the hourly chart? let's take a look at this. It's given us a strong sell signal here, but the market pumped right up. So obviously, like I said, this pump right here was manipulation. I didn't even see it coming myself, so I can't comment too much on that. And then the final time frame I want to look at is going to be the daily time frame, which is still bullish. Daily time frame still bullish. This is largely what I was saying right here. The short time frames, 1 hour and 4 hour, both bearish on Lux Algo, but the daily time frame is still bullish, and that's exactly what my analysis has been over these past few days as well, pretty much over the past week. So it's nice to know that this algorithm is confirming my analysis. I got to remind you guys, by the way, this is a really, really cool indicator. You have a lot of cool features here. You can actually, visualize, for example, certain ranges that the market might be trading in. Take a look at this with predictive channels showing us when the market, potentially rises too high. These red lines might be an area to sell, and when it falls too low, the blue lines might be an area to buy. And it's actually consistently been very, very reliable here. So I think that's pretty cool. Another one that I really, really liked was predictive ranges, I think it is. Let me wait for this to load up. No, it's not predictive ranges. I've actually forgotten. Reversal zones. That was it. Let's take a look at this. This is really, really cool. It's so beautiful. Essentially like a cooler version of Bollinger Bands, which are much more consistently useful in my experience. Just looking at this, potentially showing us where, when we reach closer to the, dark, not dark red, but like the deeper red up here, or the deeper green at the bottom, that's where we're potentially becoming a little bit overextended and we can expect a reversal, right? So, if you're just blindly trading off this, you're going to lose a lot of money because it's showing you that a reversal might happen right here, and we do get a reversal, but we stay in this range. But when we start really peaking at these darker, these aren't darker reds, but at the deeper, more rich red colors, you can start to see that the market does potentially get into some trouble. There are big exceptions right here, so there's a time and a place for these tools, but the deeper we get into this red reversal zone, the potentially bigger problem Bitcoin is going to have, and this is actually showing us that we're right in the middle of a big range right now. So definitely a range which is, look, I think that's why a lot of people are confused in this market. On the 4-hour time frame, we're starting to see where these reversal zones might be, and it also prints them in the future, so that's really cool. You can check out Lux Algo with the link in the description below. You're going to get 20% off, which is very, very cool. And like I said, this is super cheap, so to just get something that can tell you what an algorithm is thinking, to supplement your own analysis for a cheap fee, it's not expensive considering what they're giving you. I think that's really, really cool. And by the way, for beginner traders, this is absolutely huge, because if you take a look at for example, drawing automatic trend lines, this tool, this indicator, can actually draw trend lines for you on the chart, which I think is insane. Let me just, bam, there we go. It doesn't draw them very well. It draws them kind of randomly sometimes, but it's there. It also has pattern detection. Take a look at this. So let me just show you what it looks like on the hourly time frame. We're probably going to have some lines around over here. Bam, right there. It's drawing the same support line that I was drawing for you guys as well. The other one, which I think is really cool, is the pattern detection. So it's hopefully going to show us that we're in a rising wedge right now. A little bit unpredictable because it is an algorithm. On the 1-hour time frame, it's not showing us anything real, but on the 4-hour, it should show it to us. No, still not showing it to us. So this definitely needs some work. I wish I could recommend Lux Algo based off this. It's so cool, but it's just not done right. But obviously, I think they'll keep on improving it. This is not the star of the show. The main star of the show is their signals that they're giving you with potential exit points as well. So definitely worth checking out with the link in the description. And finally, if you want free money, then check out Bybit. You can sign up to them with with one of the links in the description down below, and you're going to get a deposit bonus when you use my sign up link, meaning that depending on how much you deposit, you're going to get up to $3,500 completely free of charge. All you have to do is make your first Bitcoin deposit. So check out that link, sign up. It's going to take you just a minute, and then make your first deposit. You're going to get some free money for it. But with that, I'll see you all in the next video. If you want to jump into VIP and gain access to the 4th Eyes Academy course for free with your VIP subscription, then check out these steps on the screen as well. With that, thank you all so much for watching these videos. Thank you for showing me your support with hitting up the likes and subscribing. I love you all very, very much. And I'll see you all in the next one. Bye-bye.